history that the students were studying at that time. And I still remember accompanying him to Potter Junior High at the end of summer, the week before Labor Day, because at that time, school started the day after Labor Day. None of this, August 20th or all this stuff now. Kids are going in the middle of August now. We always started the day after Labor Day. And so during that week before, I would go in with him and watch him transform his classroom into this learning adventure. And he took a painstakingly amount of time to put all the pieces that he had done from home from scratch. He made these caricatures and drew objects like he could freehand George Washington, Pilgrims, Abraham Lincoln's top hat. Whatever it was that he was trying to put together. He didn't do any stencil. He just freehanded it. He didn't get any of these pre-prepared kits that you get now at the craft stores. Nope. Dad did it all from scratch. He was what I would call an artiste. As you've heard now twice, he was a painter. And so we did put a couple of his paintings on in the back that just, he knew how to take a picture and he made it his own. He took advantage of our trip to Hawaii to do that. And he had asked me, give me a couple pictures of, what you really liked when we went to Hawaii, and just get a couple of those pictures. And little did I know that those were going to be Christmas presents, wrapped up in really big packages, and now on my walls at home, except for now they're in the back. They're going back on my walls, so don't have any ideas about stealing them. They're GPS'd. No, just kidding. But he could take a photograph, replicate it to his own vision, or just let his paintbrush fly. And he had one long kind of mural-like painting that we also have in our house that, depending on your mood, it might look like a forest fire, it might look like something else, but he just let it go, and it was just amazing to watch it while he was working on his oil paint. So he was very talented, yet very humble, and he always gave God credit for anything he created. I also recall those summers with Dad when he was the assistant principal at Potter, and we'd go in and make the student schedules. This process was long before computers and algorithms, and I can still picture the stacks of papers that we spread out over his floor and the carpeted floor, and we would work together to make these stacks that he knew how many students could be in each class, what electives they had picked. So we were doing that painstakingly by hand. And as I'm a sucker for a job with a lot of details, this was perfect for me. In full disclosure, I might have enjoyed the going to the vending machine and getting my daily bottle of Fanta cream soda more than the work. But whatever it was, those memories are still vivid to this day. Years later, I remember I came in and spoke to his students per his kind request after I had completed my training in family medicine to kind of encourage careers in medicine. So I had gone into his classroom and kind of tried to encourage folks to make the most of their studies and they could reach their full potential. And I remember looking at my father and seeing how proud he was of me and my accomplishments, but secretly I felt so honored. He wanted to be part of me, to be part of his journey as well, and taking part with those students. So I never had any doubt that he was proud of me. I've had so many people tell me, "Oh, your dad told me all about you." I'm like, "Oh God." So you never know what's being told about you, but I know I was being spoken of. But with every accomplishment, every milestone, every new adventure, he was just as colorful as a peacock. He was so excited. And I still remember when I got in my first acceptance to med school. It was in Creighton, Nebraska. And I got my acceptance letter. Now, mind you, I'm from California, and I would freeze in Nebraska. But he was like, "My baby's going to medical school." I said, "But Dad, it's in Nebraska." Because I don't care. I do. So thank the Lord that's not where I ended up going to medical school. I did go to Loma Linda, so thankfully I got to stay close. But he was just so excited, even if that would have meant I would have been quite a distance away. He was just so excited that I'd gotten into medical school, no matter where it was. But as much as he supported me, he supported there were other kids he supported. He'd go out of his way to make his students feel very special, and he'd come up with projects to showcase their creativity and uniqueness. It wasn't just about teaching about American history to my father. It was about stimulating those thought processes in those adolescent minds, and getting them to want to learn, which anybody who's been around teenagers nowadays knows that ain't no easy task. And getting them to be good citizens of the world. So he would follow their progress when they go off to Fallbrook High School, and many of them would return and recount their journey with him. And so their successes became his successes. And they knew he cared because he wanted to come back and tell Mr. Hovey how they did. Well, you know what, that lesson you taught me about teaching me doing a 5-paragraph paper, that's awesome. I had to do that for English. So some of those things I think I might have showed him a little too from I may have gotten some of those things from me, but I won't take credit. Anyway, so the students knew that he cared, and they didn't feel like he was just a teacher. Another fond memory I have of my father surrounds this term of endearment that many of those in his life heard him use a lot: troublemaker. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've all heard it, I can tell. Yeah, he would typically follow this address by asking to see a smile. Whether he was teasing his students, meeting with fellow staff members at school, addressing wait staff in the restaurants that we would go to, or engaging in other small group settings. It was amazing to see how a person's face would light up when he would utter that word. I was, of course, his special troublemaker, and he would call that often and deep into my adulthood. I was constantly having to jokingly defend my behavior when we get together. When he'd ask if I was staying out of trouble, I would quip, "No, what fun would that be?" And he'd say, "Good, just checking." As Dad slipped rather quickly into dementia this past year, our conversations were shorter, and I did not hear this word very much. But I would occasionally see that spark he'd get in his eye when he'd say it in the past. So I think he still had that mischievous streak all the way up to the end. And I can see some of you are saying, huh? So I wasn't just imagining that then, obviously. My dad was a good father. I'm not going to say our relationship was perfect, because that would not be fair to expect that, because we were two human beings living in a flawed world. But it was pretty darn close. As his only child, and especially as his baby girl, he was always keeping a close watch on me, reminding me to watch my back whenever I would go out to do something. I could tell you a pretty nerve-wracking story of how he reacted to me dating my husband, but I think I'll leave it unsaid. Let's just say he was protective and leave it at that. He would have given his life for me, but thankfully that was never necessary. Eventually, he entrusted my safety to my husband, but I'm not sure if the apron strings were ever completely severed. I would never have admitted this to him to his face, but I really did not object to his hovering that much, because I knew it came from love. I knew he loved me very much. Dad was also a very devoted husband. I have heard stories from reliable sources that when he and Mom met, it was love at first sight. While their childhoods varied greatly, they were brought together through their pursuit of higher education and the desire to mold young minds to be future leaders. Their love for education and each other led them to the Golden State, as you heard earlier, where their journey really took flight. Rarely have I seen a couple who were so much in sync as Mom and Dad. From the life-changing habit of getting up every morning to spend an hour in prayer together, down to the seemingly mundane tendency of ordering the same entree at a restaurant. They were practically inseparable, as you could probably see earlier in the slide presentation, with a surplus of shots with them in them together, usually arm in arm. 63 years together is nothing short of remarkable, especially in today's world of disposable relationships. They loved each other through it all, both good times and bad. Don and I hope to someday look back at our lives and see that we were able to accomplish just a fraction of what Mom and Dad had. Dad also enjoyed music. He especially appreciated the gospel hymns, and as you came in, we wanted to honor that by having some hymns overhead. He particularly liked the music of Bill and Gloria Gaither as well. He was also partial to the classic country music genre like Johnny Cash, Loretta Lynn, Dolly Parton, and Chet Atkins, especially Chet. Dad enjoyed playing the guitar, and he inspired me to pick it up as well. Initially teaching myself from a Mel Bay method workbook we picked up at Bradford's Music store in Vista, and later officially gaining lessons when I went to college. While he had an ear for music, he played better than he sang, a fact he would admit. I will still remember Dad singing his version of Down in the Valley while I was driving us home after my Uncle Bob's funeral. He thought he was being entertaining, but after the fourth or fifth rendition, as we were driving into Corona, I begged him to stop. There's only so much a woman can take going through Corona. Now, through the blessing of the Lord, he can have the voice of the angels and sing to his heart content, with no one asking him to cease and desist. On the home front, Dad was fairly handy. On the weekends, he could be seen outside tending to the garden, irrigating the fruit trees, or standing on a ladder painting the fascia of the 8-sided house he helped design, and I was privileged to live in on and off for 27 years. Even after I married, this home was the center of many a family gathering. I have very fond memories of eating homemade pies that Mom would make from her peaches, apples, and nectarines, shucking corn from the rows of stalks, shelling peas from their pods, and counting all the zucchini and squash that would grow in abundance during any particular season. And if you know how that grows around here, you know what I mean. It was surely fun living out in the country. Dad loved it too until many years post-retirement, when constant tending to our not-so-little acre of land became harder for him to physically manage. Selling the home was not an easy decision for him, but he did seem more relaxed afterwards, and it made it easier for him to spend quality time with Mom. He also valued making new friends of those he met after moving to Escondido, and especially here at Meadowbrook Village for the past 6 years. He made a new home in this community, and I don't doubt he made the right choice to relocate and downsize. I thank those of you in this room that made the transition easier for him and Mom and have made this space their home. While Dad was a great teacher, father, husband, musician, and head of household, he was first and foremost a man of God. His relationship with the Lord sustained him through several brushes with death. He often commented that the Lord saved his life at least 3 times when he had episodes when he stopped breathing for a moment. He realized that each and every breath he took was truly a gift from God. And even though in more recent years, his body and mind were both starting to fade, he was still adamant that the Lord was faithful and he was ready to meet him. As I was recently reminded by a sermon given by the senior pastor at my church, because of our Lord and the salvation he has graciously given his believers, we are all saints in his eyes. Dad is indeed a saint. While his passing from this earth was initially sad for our family, and we will miss him, we are so happy for him that his spirit has been released from the prison it had been chained to for these last few years. Thank you, Lord, for letting us borrow him for these 86 years, and for the assurance in knowing that he is now eternally safe with you. Thanks.
It is louder up here. I have a poem and then Psalm 23. Do not stand by my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am the 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glitz in the snow. I am the sunlight on the ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. As you awake with morning's hush, I am the swift up, flaming rush of quiet birds in circled flight. I am the day transcending soft light. Do not stand by my grave and cry, I am not there, I did not die. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures, and he leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul, he leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will not fear evil, for thou art with me. Thou rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. These are words that Dad lived by every day, and I'm sure that all of you can relate to that. Okay.
Let's sing together a little bit. Something that Carl loved. He loved the hymns. Sing about Jesus. And there's something about singing together that just frees the soul. So let's just do it. What a friend we have in Jesus. Our sins and griefs to bear. What a privilege to carry everything to God in prayer. Oh, what peace we often forfeit. Oh, what needless pain we bear. All because we do not carry everything to God in prayer. Have we trials and temptations? Is there trouble anywhere? We should never be discouraged. Take it to the Lord in prayer. And we find a friend so faithful, who will all our sorrows share. Jesus knows our every weakness. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Now we're going up to another key. Are we weak and heavy laden, covered with a load of care? Precious Savior, still our refuge.
This is the part of the program when anybody who wants to come up, or they'll take the mic to you. We'll let Pastor West take it from here so we can, if anybody wants to say a few words, here's your chance.
It's on.
Well, I don't have a lot to say. I just will sit running the camera for a late. But I'll have somebody can run back through here if y'all have something that you want to say in the audience, and I can put that on video for the folks that can't be here. So, you know everybody.
Anybody wants to share? Raise your hand. Or you can come up here. It's up to you. We have our first taker.
Just stand up where you're at.
Let's see who's back there.
Well, as Marilyn has said, Carl had a very unique sense of humor. And so knowing him from, when they first came 6 years ago and seeing them in the hall waiting for the restaurant to open, and we would kind of tease each other. And somehow we came to salute, and he would salute, and I would salute, and then he would say, "As you were," like know your place where it is. But it was always kind of a little tit for tat, and it was always a lot of fun to chat with him and joke with him. So, and even in the last year or so, we were able. And that was funny. I was able to see him in the care center, and even though I saw him in the care center, he would still salute. So I have fond memories.
Well, those of you that know me, I know that I can't keep my mouth shut for very long. I met Carl out at Riverview Church many years ago. I started going there in 1995, and I think he was a fixture at that point as well. But he and Marilyn were there, and the greatest prayer warrior I think I ever knew. He was very helpful in making sure I didn't get too far off the track, and he always greeted me with, "Well, how's the troublemaker today?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. You better tell me, because I don't think I can tell you what you know about me." And consequently, we had a nice conversation. I can remember times where he would refer to the students who he dearly loved in every respect that he could possibly have. He said, "They always gave me the hardest kids, the ones that couldn't behave in class. I even had to go to the principal's office when they were there because he was not having as much success as he thought he should. So he figured going to the principal's office might bring those kids around to the fact that he had learned something new." Many of the stories, of course, I cannot remember because I'm getting the same age as Carl is in the next 6 months. But anyway, we thoroughly enjoyed having dinner with Carl and Marilyn, and we cherish our friendship. We will continue to do that. And we thank you for coming and living with us and enjoying our friendship.
I would like to address that term, troublemaker. Whoever he met, you were a troublemaker. Didn't matter who you were. Well, we had a lady in our Bible study that is Chinese. And she said to me one day afterwards, she came over and she says, Marilyn's husband, Carl, he told me I was a troublemaker. And she said, I don't know what I did. So the next week at Bible study, I told them, I says, Carl thinks that Wendy is a troublemaker. Did he ever say that to you? and everybody raised their hand. So, I mean, that was your kind of your acceptance into Carl's life. And as teasing went on and on, Marilyn just stood there smiling, loving him anyway. Huh, Marilyn?
I said it was unique. I think it was always good.
I'd like to represent some of the students that Carl had. My daughters both went through his class, and they went in, I think, one way and came out another. He was a U.S. history teacher, and he taught the honors history class. And his curriculum was tough, but it was good, and they knew where they stood. They never had a question. And both of my daughters attended university, and I have very little doubt that part of his influence was a part of that. But knowing that he was praying the whole time, prayer warrior, incredible. His email was onourknees.com to give you an idea of who he was, and was more all about prayer, honestly, than he was about teaching. And his teaching was incredible. So kudos. And Marilyn, sometimes we could tell you were putting up with it very quietly, but he was always putting on a show, and in school and everywhere else. And we admire you and him for all that you guys are and were.
Nobody should keep a follow to me here.
Hi, my name's Chris Helmers from Riverview Church, where Marilyn and Carl attended. And Carl was such a blessing. I loved his sense of humor. Of course, my husband has a very similar sense of humor, so I felt very